Yes, karibuni wadau. We at Gulf Hub doing the Gulf Hub conversations. Karibuni sana. Today we are going to talk about Kisumu and its future cities. So niko na wazito hapa kutoka mbalimbali hapa Kisumu. Sijui nianze na dada. I have director Winam Grassroots, Mrs. Mary, right? Kizito Omolo, President Rotary Club of Kisumu. Gulf Hub Director, George Abwajo. And civil engineer. Is it former civil engineer or current civil engineer? Dennis Nyakach. Karibuni sana. This is how we're going to begin. Today we're talking about Kisumu. Kisumu outlook. When you hear about Kisumu, what is the first thing that comes into your mind? If you are to describe Kisumu in one sentence or one word, how would you describe Kisumu? Utadescribe aje Kisumu? Ukipewa nafasi kudescribe Kisumu. Vile iko sahi. Yes.
Thank you for that. Kisumu is my city. Kisumu is my hometown. And I'm always happy when I talk about Kisumu because there's so much that defines us in this beautiful city. If I would describe Kisumu, Kisumu is a beautiful town, is a easy town, is not one of those expensive towns that you'd want to shy away from. Kisumu, there is opportunity. As we have seen, the city has grown over the years, much as we are having bulging population. But again, the opportunities, and when you're talking of businesses, you know, the new opportunities that we can be able to venture to, in terms of the facilities, especially the social amenities, to me, I wouldn't say there's very little change. The same ones I would see in the 80s. These ones I would zero in the hospitals, the marketplaces, Chirombero, you know. I mean, they're the same spaces that we have seen in as much as the city has grown. When you're talking of our city growing in terms of populations, of course, we are also recording high number of deaths in the city. I've only seen the public mortuary that has been there ever since we were young. It's the same old one, apart from, of course, the few private ones that have come. So these are the issues that I would want us to have a conversation, whether the city we need, the future cities, will be able to actually give us that space and for us to be able to enjoy, and as it continues to grow, that we have that outlook that we so desire. Thank you.
Well put. Well put. It's like you have been here for a while. Interestingly, hii Kisumu pali imefika. Unadhani, do you think that Kisumu has gotten to a level that it's supposed to be? Do you think we have potential to be better? Ile swali yangu ya kwanza bado iko. If you are given a chance to describe Kisumu in one word or one sentence, how would you still describe Kisumu, putting into consideration some of the things Mary has also talked about?
Okay, just to say about Kisumu. Kisumu, I can say, born and bred in this town. Okay. Kisumu, it's a beautiful city. As I've been here for the last 30-something years, and I appreciate that we have had so many development in terms of what's happening in the city, and as also as young people, that's most the focus is how are you going to grow it more to be a city for all, and also in terms of competition with other cities also. As a young person, I'm looking into a way whereby we will have more incubation spaces. Like I can see the Rotary Youth Center coming on board there. Mm-hmm. We'll have spaces for young people to be able to tap more into innovation. As a city, that's where we're not really doing pretty well. But if we focus more on that also, tech and innovation, then it will grow. What I love also most in this city is that like we are like a family. You know, in town, if you walk in town, unajua huyu anajua huyu, huyu anajua huyu, huyu anajua huyu. That's the bit about this city also, that people know each other, and also in terms of businesses, we also try and support each other. We know like who do, if you give business, then it's on the right track also. Yeah. So when you say that Kisumu kama imefika mabado, kama ika pesa, najua kama kuna pesa leo 100, kesho nataka 200, so hatujafika bado. We need to, yeah, tutafika. Yeah.
Kwangu Kisumu ni the people itself. Just like Case, I was born here, and I've seen the town, save for a little bit that I left the town and went to maybe some other towns. We pretty much have retained the shape and outlook of the town. I can say sometime there we got a little bit stuck. Probably in the 90s, in 2000, we got a little bit stuck because when those days there used to be like a single class because there was no social strata. Kila mtu alikuwa, hatukujua Sonko ni nani, hatukujua msee amesota ni nani. So it's like we had we were all at the same level. Things have kind of changed. I would classify it into two. Personally, I like viewing that the future of this town is on us, probably the young people. Umejua, most of wasn't grown up now. After kuchop high school, wase walienda Nairobi kutafuta greener pastures. And ukisikia vile wase wanai uongea, those people who we grew up in Kisumu wakaenda nai wanasema Kisumu hakuna do. But then pia ukiangalia critically, you know, it's not the responsibility of government to put money in the hands of the people after doing the nini. It's us. So who wanna feel the more the diaspora now, people in diaspora always continue that there are no ni watu wa Kisumu, lakini sasa wameenda other towns, wameenda greener pastures, which is okay. But the more they always say that they don't want to come back, always say Kisumu hakuna do, that is now the problem when you inatokezea. So naweza imagine sote tukiweza weka kichwa yetu pamoja tuseme mazee, how can we unlock Kisumu? Because kwangu mimi na believe we would have achieved more kama I think there was a concerted effort ya kila msee. But inaonekana watu wengine wanasema hiyo Kisumu yenu, ukisikia au vile watu wa diaspora wabongaga mazi, hiyo Kisumu yenu bado tu mmesota tu, hiyo Kisumu yenu bado tu ni one street town mazi, hiyo Kisumu yenu. So it's us the people, it defines us. That's why as the people, surprising kitu ingine ukiona ukimit kama the people grow up in Central, maybe Nyanza or Taita, they really want to come to Kisumu. Because why the reason want to come to Kisumu is not because of the lake. Wanasema the little interaction we've had with the Luos mazin Kisumu, in Nairobi, I think Kisumu is such an interesting. It's like kila msee huko ukitoka war wanakugonga tu hivyo mara moja. So I really want to go to Kisumu nione where these black dark people are coming from, now the headquarters. So I would like to say more about the people and their culture. Yeah.
You asked about one word to describe Kisumu. Yes. I would want to say amazing, with a lot of reasons. Yes, amazing Kisumu. I love this city, and I wasn't born here, so Kisumu, I won't call it like home really, but it has become home for me. I came in Kisumu in 2009. Born around the country, travel around the country, but eventually found myself here and found myself home. I came to Kisumu in 2009, just in the backdrop of the post-election violence. Actually, when I came, Kisumu was a ghost town. I've seen so much happen. Yes, I've seen so much happen in Kisumu the last 10 years that I think Kisumu has never recorded in its past history before 09 or before the 07-08 elections and the skirmishes that came with it. And I remember the reason why I even say amazing is I love the Kisumu story, like my Kisumu story, because it's weird. And when I came here in 2009, I hated this city. I hated Kisumu for no apparent reason. I've never found a reason up to today for my hate of Kisumu. So actually that was one of the reasons why I never lived in Kisumu before 09. Because I hated Kisumu. Naturally, I had no apparent reason.
Or no friends.
No friends, nobody. I had relatives, uncles. My brother was here by then, but I still never liked this city. I used to me, Kisumu was a conduit. I would pass through Kisumu, going to Nairobi, going everywhere else, but not staying here. So I just used to come, go to stage, pick a bus, and leave. I didn't even know the town, and the town was like a walking distance. I remember my very, very first days here, I didn't even know where the IEBC office was. And by that time, it was big. And because the guy who took me to IE, because I wanted to go to IE to drop a letter, he knew that I didn't know that part of town, not Kisumu, he took me round. And it was such a long distance. And I paid 100 shillings from stage. And then he took me round. Then I was like, okay, so ashanifikisha, let me find my way back to town. Kidogo hivi, I'm on the Chingoneko Road. And I'm seeing stage because it is one long road. And I'm like, huh? It was just there. Anyway, so that was my little experience. But I hated Kisumu when I came here in 2009. And by that time, I came to do some work with some NGO, and who apparently also let me down. And then I remember I got a job with another NGO in 2010, 2011, and I left Kisumu. I was the happiest man on earth that day when I got that job, to leave Kisumu. Little did I know that 2 months down the line, these people would, the NGO would ask me and others to go back to Kisumu, to set up the Kisumu office. So I came back in Kisumu 2011 January. So I'm like, okay, now what the hell? What do I do? Where do I start? Then there was a friend of mine who also came from Nairobi, and we were working with him. He didn't know Kisumu as much then. And then we became housemates. So in the evening after work, we would try to explore Kisumu. So we were trying to understand, so where do people go to Kisumu in the evenings? So we started exploring Kisumu. Where do you go for coffees? Where do you do clubbing? Nini. And then little by little, the Kisumu spirit started getting into me. Then I realized, okay, Kisumu is interesting. There's something about Kisumu that I just never experienced, which is beautiful. Then, wacha story endele. So we started exploring Kisumu in the evenings, finding places where people would hang out and everything. And then in the midst of it all, then I started loving Kisumu. And then I started looking for information about Kisumu. And then I couldn't find. And probably that's one other part of what you were talking about with Mary earlier. And I started writing about Kisumu. Actually, I was the first person to start writing about Kisumu then. The only information about Kisumu that you'd find by that time were information about Sunset Hotel, Impala Park, and Kisumu Museum, and Imperial Hotel. The established hotels by then, Kisumu Hotel, Sunset, Imperial, there were very few. Then I started documenting stories about Kisumu then. Now that was 2012. And that's how Amazing Kisumu was founded. So I started by writing about Kisumu, and through it all, it has grown into something else, and that's why Kisumu is amazing for me, because it has a beautiful story. The last 10 years I've seen Kisumu grow, and Kisumu I think is going to be the greatest city in Kenya, because we have the opportunities, we have the potential, we have the manpower, we have the skilled labor. These people are really smart. I've interviewed a lot of people in Kisumu, and they are really smart. And just if you just look at the Kisumu environment, we have the opportunities to grow, and our position is very strategic in the Great Lakes region, and even just in Kenya. Kisumu is the only city in Kenya that you can reach by 3 means of transport. Lake, not really lake, probably if you're coming from East Africa, air, road, and rail. 4 means of transport. And no, bodaboda is more internal. But if you're coming from elsewhere, you can easily connect to Kisumu with this. So we are different. We are a beautiful people. And I remember just what George was talking about earlier. I had friends who were Nairobi born. And I remember I met a lady, we were with her in college. And then I bumped into her in 2005, somewhere here in Milimani, over lunch. Then I'm like, unafanya nini Kisumu? Then she's like, I've been here for 2 years. That, what do you mean? Where of all the people? Like, Buruburu born, Nairobi bred, everything. Like, she would speak Nairobi. She was like, Dennis, I came to this city, na nimeshindwa kutoka. Nimebuy land, nimejenga nyumba. So there's something about Kisumu we've just never explained that attracts people, that makes it beautiful, and I think it is up to us to actually make Kisumu of the future. Yeah.
Naweza uliza, kumekuwa na hii kitu ya people who are born and who've taken time here. Maybe probably I would want to get perspective. Do they make it easily in other towns like Nairobi? Because there has been also that aspect whereby watu wa Kisumu cannot fit in maybe Nairobi or Mombasa if you've been here.
I think it's a fallacy. I think that's just ni kitu watu wanapenda kusema. Ni kitu tu watu wanapenda kusema ati watu wa Kisumu si outgoing sana. They're not as determined as people from other towns. But what do people say about people who live in Mombasa? Watu wanaishi Mombasa watu wanasemaga nini? Hiyo stereotype. It's just a stereotype, si ndio? But interestingly, there are two things nimesikia hapa ndani. Kisumu haina pesa. Kisumu kikuja Kisumu. George amesema hiyo kitu. But is it true?
No, it's not true.
Mary, Kisumu iko na pesa?
Yes.
Kabla nipatie Mary a respond pia. Okay. I agree to some extent. Ndio ati Kisumu haina pesa sana. Maybe it's because we have not invested so much in production and manufacturing. There's something Dennis also talked about, devolution. After 2009, something attracted you to Kisumu. You didn't know what it was. Before 2009, like he said, it was hard living in Kisumu. Yes, food was affordable and things like that. Food that naturally has been affordable in Kisumu for a long, long time. But after 2009, with the devolution coming in, we've had so much resources being pumped into counties. Kisumu being one of them has benefited a lot. And maybe that explains the reason why after 2009, something attracted you to Kisumu. But New Kweli, to some extent, the amount of money flow coming in, flowing within Kisumu compared to other towns is a bit low. Maybe it's just my perspective, but I feel like if we are able to invest more into production, manufacturing, then I guess Kisumu can have enough money to spend for people who like entertainment, like Kisumu Bread here, Rotary President. At least people will have money to spend. People will have money to save. People will also have money to invest. Mary, unaona aje maneno?
Just to answer you on that part of Kisumu hakuna pesa. You know, also it's also like forced down in terms of the business setups and leadership.
Yes.
Like me, I'm into digital marketing. Definitely want to support this business in terms of visibility online. And you can approach just an example. You can approach a business, say a hotel, and then you say, now I want to. You see very well online. The online presence is just poor, and then you tell them, I want to support you just to have your digital presence as a company to work on it. Just to give it a nice look in terms of online. And then, do you know what they'll tell you is that these hotels are in Kisumu, but the people who decide like who are you going to do business are in Nairobi.
Okay.
So what happens? Then you write an email. That email, I wrote an email. I've been writing emails from 2016, 2017, 2018. No
And you write
response.
to Nairobi.
And then you end up like the ideas that you're trying to talk to the branch managers. They go and take brands from Nairobi.
Come and implement
They're
them.
pushing it from Nairobi, but they're in Nairobi. Now, how do you expect Kisumu people to have also money? Also at that point also.
So don't we have enough skill to do that?
So we have the skills, but people still have that believe that Nairobi people do it perfectly well, which is not.
Okay.
We can do. We have done these things well than Nairobi people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe to add my voice on the issue around the economy vibrancy of our city. Well, partly for a long time, I would say culturally, we were not born business people. And I think over time, this has changed. We've seen the flip side, people embracing businesses. If you look at when you're talking of this city way back in 2000, down, we've had a number of NGOs. I know when we see NGOs, there's money flowing in these spaces. But again, we were more of consumers other than investors. Because for us to be able to build our city, we really needed to invest on, whether it's in agriculture production or other manufacturing businesses. But again, we have seen that changing today. Today, why would somebody want to go and print a banner in Nairobi? Such kind of, businesses. And we've seen quite a number of people who today have been employed in that sector. And again, we are seeing our people going out of their way to really invest big time on areas like where we've been able to exploit on the event side. We've had homelands coming in big time, and those are the kind of things today we can celebrate. In as much as we were then sleeping, but again, we have realized we have the potential as a people to be able to take up these spaces and run with them. I think the other thing again was also when we look at, of course, the devolution bit, money is coming from the government. But again, where is it being spent? That is the question. And those are the kind of things we need to interrogate. Who are the people getting these tenders? Probably we are in Kisumu here, and maybe the investment side or, the business is being done in Nairobi.
Are you somehow saying that money is coming, that guys are coming back from other
Yes,
towns?
yes, there are. I've had an opportunity to engage in the construction business, and I know what it's all about. The people who will be able to get some of these big tenders who are not even Kenyans. And we are talking of capital flight, where they have to supply everything. So at the end of the day, where is that money? And those are the kind of things we want to interrogate and really look at how then do we build up the small-scale businesses? Are we able to fund such businesses, And again, it breaks my heart when we keep on seeing as the city continues to grow and we want to bring up this beautiful picture. We end up displacing our small-scale traders, like what is happening right now. But again, these are the inborn. Unless we incubate them, unless we give them, that the level playing field for them to be able to get some of these tenders, run and engage, then we'll be talking that Kisumu tuko na pesa, But in terms of skills, I think we are endowed. We are endowed. We have what it takes to be able to take our city and change the aspects around how we economically embrace and have that vibrant space for us.
There's also another stereotype about Kisumu, people not being very good business people. Maybe that's something also we can address. Every time we are compared to other people from other regions, we are normally put at the lower level of people doing business. So, is it true ati watu wa Kisumu hawajui kufanya biashara? Ni kweli? I don't think so.
I don't want to be appear academic, but among the measures, tukiangalia sasa data. Okay. Kuna hii data KNBS ilitoa. It's called county gross GDP ya counties. Like which counties iko na domob na zingine zina domob. Initially, one myth that report demystified People have been bandying around that Nairobi contains 60% of the economy of Kenya. The report found that Nairobi only contributes to 21%. Yeah, there are richer counties, Kajiado, Nini, although Kisumu, yes, we contribute about 3.5%. So, compare that report also segmentized sectors. Kusema tu kweli, the amount we contributed, if you could see Kisi, LD, the financial sector. The financial sector, they covered insurance and banking. Other towns ilitushinda. That's a fact. Yeah, like Kisi, example, mfano, the financial sector. It meant there are so many financial activities happening. That's in terms of savings, investments. But you need data. Once I talked to a bank manager around here, a very tier 1 bank. He said his only problem is one. I asked him, you people, you deal with money and you give cash to guys wa Kisumu. How is it? Is it true that we don't have money? He said that shida yenye experience Kisumu ni moja. They don't get deposits as much as they give loans. You see, naturally, those two things should match. Someone who takes money for investment should also, ukiona account yake, it is assumed that akona biz, anafaa kuwa na deposit. But unapata tu customer out of the ordinary, maybe tu chenye akonayo ni savings salary account. Na nakuja anachukua loan. But they would be more than happy if kuna account ujama wana deposit. It means biz na ujama kuna biz. So his fear was, I think we are giving loans and these loans may not be translating into investments. Okay. In short, someone can nini tuseme that maybe utunachukua loan kununua nayo TV. Nimesema tu in other words. Yes, that was that bank guy perspective. Yeah, so tukisema ati, but I'm happy with the current crop. They're not, kama fade yangu, I hope it's not fade utawachi kitu. Fade yangu hadi sahi, when I graduated in economics, naturally the place unaweza kuwa, all of us maybe in our class wanted to join hizo IMF, World Bank, UN, UNDP, or Treasury. But then fade yangu hadi sahi wananiambia, my friend, why are you still unemployed? Si unasumbuka sana tao. Hadi wa leo, by the way, because that generation believed in permanent and pensionable jobs, that you should work till 58, organize your nini. So but I'm happy with the other generation. I would say the upcoming generation had high 40s. Yes. Those guys, now you see we are looking at them. They are like our mentors. That generation, they are opening businesses. They are trying. They are taking risks. I think personally, I was not there in 1970s, but we want to believe that was never there. We were risk averse then. We didn't want to take risk because he still insists. It means, bado tuyuko, he's stuck there. So I would want to say that this generation, CC and the 40s guy, they are more daring. Now, the future of even this town now relies on those two people. Yeah, business people. When you in a class, even when I got enrolled for Masters in Economics, we were 10 Luos out of 200. The others were Mount Kenya and Eastern Region. It's because there was that stereotype. Maze, sisi ni si wasewa kusoma hii samo. Ito, yeah. So I think kidogo, the stereotype is being pulled down kidogo, yeah.
I think there has been a wind of change in terms of look of maybe Kisumu people as businessmen or not, or as entrepreneurs for that matter. Maybe again, probably I don't know if it was political or not, because in retrospect, if we used to say that Kisumu people are not businessmen, then, and not just Kisumu people, just the Luo people. Apparently, like if you're in Nairobi and you're a Luo, everybody thinks you're coming from Kisumu. That is another problem. So many times, I think Luo people or Kisumu people have always been thought to be, or have always been said to be academics. So as other people are businessmen, as ni watu wa kusoma. I don't know how true that is, But what I have seen happen over time, I think there's a new generation of entrepreneurs coming up from Kisumu and the surrounding Kisumu region, which is good. And I think we are rewriting the story in terms of we can do business and all that. And actually, at the moment, you can see there are a lot of local investments happening around. And even as Mary had even pointed out, 5 years ago, I remember the very, very first time I saw a huge outdoor tent that was done was the first Devolution conference in Kisumu. And the people who did it was Nairobi. They actually came from Nairobi to do it at Tomboya Labour College. I attended the event. And like now, nobody can come and compete Kisumu people to do such kind of outdoor events because we have people who have invested in such kind of business service provision. So I think we have woken up. We are still studying, people are still studying and all that, but people are also going into business. And most of them, they're actually a new generation. They're not the old generation. They're actually younger people who have gone into such kind of businesses and all that. And not just probably in events planning only. I know of a lot of young people who own businesses. And not just small scale, but there could be startups, there could be small scale businesses now, but in 10 years time, probably these would be the greatest employers of people in Kisumu. And even as Mary had alluded earlier, many times, and also I think I was having almost a similar talk with somebody the other day on Wednesday actually. This guy does websites, and he had done a proposal to a local institution here in Kisumu for web design. And these people are shocked that, what do you mean? You can do this in Kisumu? Because people think that such kind of things cannot be done by people from Kisumu. That it's only Nairobi that there are people who can do it. Even just what Kais has talked about, a lot of people still do not believe in our potential. And I don't know what will change to make our local business people see that we have the capacity to do even greater than Nairobi-based businesses or businesses that are not just in Kisumu. And I think I've seen a lot of people invest, across industries. And it could be on technology, which I think a lot of youth are also going into, which I think is becoming a game changer locally. And not just that, on very many areas, I'm seeing a lot of youth doing incredible work, totally incredible work. And I think it is up to us to now start writing the Kisumu stories, because we are not writing them. Yes. We have great people doing great things and nobody's recording them. Yeah. And probably that is the reason why people think that we are not doing these things here. But we are doing a lot of things. Probably we are just starting. And maybe 10 years time, it will be a different story. We'll be seeing a lot of people, a lot of local businesses that will be competing comparatively with other businesses, probably in Nairobi and elsewhere.
Wow.
I think that's probably why we sort of we are having this discussion, so that we can tell these stories that we are having at Gulf Conversation to the world.
Dennis has talked about us having the skills. We have talked about Kisumu not just being the dead town that it was 10 years, 15 years back. Now, interestingly, our county government launched about 5 towns. Maseno was launched, Ahero was launched. I understand there's also a Moroni to be launched, Katito to be launched. Which other town again? And Kombeo. Now, these are interesting moves in Kisumu. There are a lot of things that come with being a town. And I actually like what is happening. But again, when I look at Kisumu again, given it is also growing and it is introducing towns that may in future become also cities, I'm looking at infrastructure. Do you think that there are areas that we are still lacking? Do you think that there are areas that we still need to work on in terms of planning, sewerage, things like that. Mary.
That's a very good question, and actually, that is what we need to focus on. And as I would say, we all know how most of the cities grew. Even Kisumu, there were marketplaces. Today, when the 5 which have been launched, to me, it will equally ease the burden of the population, because we know the cities are growing and they're growing towards the periphery, meaning people out there need services. There's no need of us, all of us being in the city yet. We are struggling with other issues, the planning challenges and all that. And one of the key things they would take right now is to ensure that those places are planned, because they're going to grow. We know how planning has been in Kisumu. Kisumu, the only areas that were planned, if you take the map of Kisumu from Kondele, is Tomboya, coming down to Russia Quarters. Actually, the way that road has segmented the Nairobi Road, the bypass, coming this side all the way to Makasembo, Ondiek Estates, those were the only places that were planned. Because as you move outwards, as the city grew, Migosi and all that, Migosi is not the Migosi we knew. So it will be incumbent upon this particular government, and of course other governments are coming, that they take advantage of the rurality that is still there, buy spaces, come up with the designs to be able to have these infrastructures fixed. Otherwise, we'll end up with spaces that, yes, they're growing, the towns are changing, but in terms of the planning, it will all be chaotic. You've seen how Nairobi has grown, and that is what is going to happen in the next 2030 and all that. And as a person who has been in the conversations around the city, we need the 2050, that by then it is believed that over 75% of the population, the world population, will be living in the urban areas. So working with that, how do we ensure that the future cities, the cities that we want, would be able to have all this aspect of space, safe spaces, having the innovative, areas, the greening, without interfering. So as we talk about these issues, that the city we need, it will be incumbent upon the authorities, those who are in power, to ensure that such spaces are planned. And again, we have Afri-Cities that is coming. And I always say Afri-City this is a global event, but as Kisumians, where do we come in? What is it that we can be able to learn and maybe accelerate the issues around us? Because maybe me and you and I, we might not be in that forum, but our voices today can be, we can have it, recorded out here and push that these are the key things we'd want to learn from that process, that even as it will come and go after the 5 days, but as a people will continue to have the conversations about the city we want, that we have the shared identities, having spaces, of course, when you're talking of the public spaces that are safe, the markets, the lightings and all this. So I would also be keen to see how we'll be able to develop as the urban spaces that are there, that will be able to have a unified voice towards Afri-Cities, and will be equally represented in such space. Because what I know about Afri-Cities again is the key theme for the themes that are there, one of them is about social protections. There's the gender lens that is also coming out very clearly. And again, the city as a whole, where are we moving when it comes to the frameworks that are being engaged there, the Agenda 2030, and of course, we are within the decade of the acceleration of the SDG. So here we are as young people, as people living in these cities, we really need to push and get our voices in such space. Thank you.
As a parting shot, maybe I'll give you guys parting shots, but I really needed to understand something, Mary. I'd really like to understand something, Mary. How can Kisumu, or the people in charge, make residents of Kisumu living within those towns that were launched feel actually like they're actually living in a town? Sijui kama mnanisikia. Tunaweza fanyaje hizi towns zenye zilikuwa launched, watu wenye wanaishi around hapo wafeel ni kama ni ukweli wanaishi kwa town, kwa sababu yes, they are very very good plans, and it's important that they understand that they are actually living in a town that has now taken a different level, a different shape. But ni nini county inaweza fanya kufanya watu wanaishi hapo wafeel ukweli wako ndani ya town? Like, give an example, like Ahero town, Kombewa, Moroni. Yes, George.
In answering you, and as also a parting shot, as we are winding up, today I think this discussion is very timely. Today, the draft strategic plan, I think I just got it today, draft city strategic plan 2019 to 2024 has been launched by the Kisumu City Board. I think one of our panel members, I think this was probably the meeting, one of the panel members was supposed to be a member of the City Board. It's a good thing, the plan for Kisumu. I was speaking to former city engineer, Kisumu City engineer. He told me Kisumu is currently doing ducting, the work that you're doing here. The work, that planning was never done in Nairobi. So he's projected that it's happening its time. Actually, it's very timely that you're doing that. I think for the towns, they're being done according to the Towns and Cities Act. There may not be services, but now that there are towns, first, the perception alone, not even any perception alone, may attract investments to those regions. Two, being that they are towns, World Bank normally have support to municipalities and towns initiatives. They may also, through the government and through the financial development partners, attract investments. And generally, when it attracts, now there will be more consideration. Now that the name town come with it, any bank may think, oh, it's a town. Can we go check on something? Any parastatal or any agency, oh, it's a town, I'm insurance, let's go settle in that town. So I think being that it's a town, the county government will kind of try and give those priority to be center of growth in those regions. So it's a good thing. We support them and the plan that comes along with it. Yes.
Just to add on what George has said, I think launch of the towns is a good thing, and I think it will also be able to help depopulate Kisumu City. But it will only come when now the needed services. So first of all, there needs to be infrastructure for service provision, which I think probably the county is in the process of setting up, and depending on how attractive the towns are being designed and made, it will also attract investment. Like just as George has said, you'll find there will be a lot of interest because people are seeing opportunities for growth or even new markets. Because a lot of people would want to, if Ahero is a town, which was just launched the other day, will bring in requisite investments in terms of even like services, in terms of improvement of even sanitation itself, water provision and all that. Probably there'll be people who just want to put up residential apartments and all that. So a town in itself is attractive, and it will attract investors, it will attract residents, people who just want to live in a town nearby Kisumu and all that. So to me, the town is a good thing, and let us have a good plan around growing it, so that we do not have probably the case of Kisumu. I think Kisumu was designed when most of us were not here, but now we are designing Ahero with an open mind, such that when Ahero town and Maseno town that have been launched already, when they grow with a plan. Kisumu, currently we cannot even meet some of our demands for even environment, for even sanitation. And later on we're talking about sanitation, including our wastes, including water. That is why most of our places we have informal settlement that don't have basic services, like roads, like water. We don't have that. Sanitation is just bad. So we have an opportunity with our new towns to make them to be real towns and to grow them for the future, because those will be our future cities. Thank you.
Yeah, Kisumu is it's a beautiful city. We have also beautiful people, and also what can also be done is that we need also to try and see how do we package Kisumu also. The the other day we were in a meeting with Mary. It was World Cities Day, and the video that you see how Kisumu is packaged, it is packaged in a way that it doesn't reflect Kisumu in terms of tourism or what's going on in the city. We have Dunga Hill Camp, we have places people can visit in Kisumu, very different places. But the packaging isn't so much good. Now currently we just so much blown out with this Europe thing, the cabros. So I think there's more to a city than to those cabros. Yeah. Yes, and then also what I can also add is that
cabros is a bad thing.
I've said there's more to a city than cabros. That's what I've said. Yes. So also what I can say that we need to create more strategic partnerships. We need to have more dialogues in terms of what's happening in Kisumu. We used to have to just focused mindset and also involve the residents in Manyata, Nyalenda, Obunga, and Mamboleo in what's happening in Kisumu. So that even also these other towns that we have coming on board, like Maseno and Ahero, so that at the end of all this we have real service delivery. Like we have the county government coming on board, we have the private sectors coming on board, and together we'll make Kisumu a great city.
The Kisumu we need, the Kisumu that we want, and I would want to see one that is inclusive. As when you're talking of the Kisumu City today, I would really draw a very thin line, because when we just go past Ring Road down all the way to I would say the major roads, you would really know there's a very clear distinction. And with the data we have from the SDG forum, Kisumu, much as we would talk about it as a city, Kisumu, 42% of Kisumu is under informal settlements, meaning 42%. That is the truth. When we're talking of Manyata, Nyalenda, Nyawita, all the way to Obunga. So it's almost half of the city, So what I would want to see is how are we able to improve such spaces, especially the informal settlements, so that when you're talking of the city, the vibrant city, we'd also want to see that in the informal settlements, the back spaces. As I walk in Milimani today, everywhere has cabro, but is it the same when we walk in Manyata, in Obunga, in such spaces, So what is it that is going to be improved? Then we can talk of an inclusive city for all people. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. Wadau, asanteni sana kwa kutusikiza. Have a great one. Asante sana.